And I love when couples have 2 to 3 meetings with this officiant ahead of time so that they can get to know each other, get to know each other's story, their approach, and really connect so that on wedding day it feels really connected.
Live your life within the moment, and don't go wait until the morning.
Welcome to The Wedding Plan. My name is Tyler Spire, and me and my team produce bespoke events across the globe. This podcast is where I share key advice for planning your own wedding, as well as behind-the-scenes adventures and stories from the events we produce. Hey friends, and welcome to The Wedding Plan. I am so happy that you are here today, and we have been talking about sort of the core vendors that we book in the planning process. And today we're going to talk about one that's super important and often overlooked until the last minute, and that is the wedding officiant. So the officiant is the person that is actually legally marrying you. And I say that with a caveat because some couples go to the courthouse and get legally married ahead of time, and then the wedding is more of a celebration, and that's a little bit different. But for all intensive purposes today, what we are talking about is the person standing up in your ceremony who is actually marrying you. And there's sort of 3 categories of officiant that I want to talk about today because all of them are a little bit different. And the first and the most traditional is a religious officiant. And that would be, a priest in the Catholic Church, a priest in the Orthodox Church, a pastor, a imam, a rabbi, whoever it is that is representing that religious institution and leading the service. And so a lot of couples, if you are religious, you are having a religious ceremony, you're getting married in a church, you're getting married by a rabbi, you're having a Hindu ceremony, whatever it is, often you have a family connection with maybe somebody or somebody that you have grown up with in that religious institution that you want to have marry you. And that is always the best kind of first ask. And I always tell my couples, you want to ask, what are the things that we need to do for a marriage within this religion, whatever it is? I think it's really important to ask that from the beginning. Some churches require premarital counseling. Some religions require regular attendance in that faith. Some are a little bit more flexible. Some let you do things outside or wherever you want. Some are going to say, no, it needs to be in the church or whatever that is. Some religions have blockout dates, like, oh, you can't get married on this date because of X, Y, and Z, this religious festival, this practice, whatever it is. And so if you're planning a religious ceremony, start that dialogue with that religious officiant from the very beginning so that you don't lock yourself into a date in a venue and it's the perfect thing and your dream was to get married in that church, and then you find out that that day is actually a day they can't do a wedding ceremony in that church. If you were getting married in a destination or somewhere else, or you don't have a strong connection to a particular religious leader, I think it's also really important early on in the planning process to start the research of who is going to be the right rabbi, the right pastor, the right priest. If you don't have the relationship already, making those calls to maybe those religious groups in the town where you're getting married and starting to develop that relationship and learning what the parameters are around a marriage in that religion is so important. I think I've seen this happen with couples where we get so excited about full steam ahead. We found the perfect venue. Then we found the planner. Then we found the photographer. And now we're going and deposits are being made and we're making decisions. And all of a sudden we find out, oh, there's a religious holiday that day and it can't be this day, or it needs to be much later at night, or this person's a little more traditional and that's not in alignment with what the couple was wanting and things like that. So if you want to have a religious ceremony, which I think is beautiful, make sure that the conversations start with the person who is marrying you nice and early. So that's category 1. Category 2 would be you want to have more of a civil ceremony. You want to have maybe a professional, a civil servant, a judge, whatever, justice of the peace, whatever it is. You want to have somebody marry you, and more in kind of the civil sense. And it's someone you're usually asking through a relationship or hiring. And there are so many amazing professional officiants out there. And, sometimes couples are like, I don't want to maybe have a religious ceremony, but I don't really have a friend or family member or person I have in mind who'd be really great at doing this wedding. It would actually just cause a lot of stress, or I just can't think of someone who'd be the right fit. There are so many amazing officiants out there who, for a living, help you write your ceremony and can help you with vow writing, can help you with all sorts of things around the ceremony. And I think that is so important. Having a professional can be a really beautiful thing to guide you through from start to finish. I love when couples find someone who just feels like a really good fit, and someone who feels like uh, you have like good rapport, good understanding. You're going to be together during this like really intimate moment. And I like to tell my couples, if it works in your budget, ask this professional officiant, can they help you with vow writing, with coaching through some of these things? Do they write the ceremony from scratch, or do they have samples you can choose from? Just kind of get to know their style and what they do. And I love when couples have 2 to 3 meetings with this officiant ahead of time so that they can get to know each other, get to know each other's story, their approach, and really connect so that on wedding day it feels really connected. I also love when couples, if you are hiring someone more professional or who doesn't have a personal relationship with you, I love when couples think about ways to incorporate their family and their loved ones, maybe through a reading or through just kind of different ways to have those familiar voices and faces be up at the front and be a part of the ceremony with you. And then finally, probably the most common one I'm seeing right now, at least kind of in the weddings we're producing, is we have couples who want a friend or family member or loved one to officiate their wedding. And this, I think, is a really beautiful thing. I think that, if you aren't members of a religious institution, if you are not wanting to kind of hire someone, you really want it to be really personal, and you have that person that you feel like you can ask, I think it's a really beautiful thing. Someone who's confident in speaking in front of people, who loves you, who knows you. And I think that can be really special. So, some tips about asking a friend or family member to officiate your wedding. I think number one is do it early. Ask nice and early, hey, would you be willing to officiate our wedding, and make it really clear that you would like that to happen, because that gives this person the opportunity to say yes or to say no if they feel really uncomfortable. And actually, I actually love when couples are like, we would love you to officiate our wedding. It would mean a lot to us. And also, we understand that that's asking a lot, to stand up in front of everybody and be up there. And if you don't feel comfortable with that, we will not be offended in the least. Giving that person the opportunity, especially if it's someone who's never officiated before, the opportunity and the grace to say no, I think is like a really loving thing that you can do as a couple. And then once you ask someone to do it, I love when couples offer that person, especially if it's their first time. If this is someone who's like done it for all your friends or things like that, obviously that's a little bit different. But if it's someone who's never done it before or is feeling a little bit nervous, a lot of the professional officiants that are out there also offer coaching services. Or there are services out there. One of my favorites is based in LA, called Vows and Speeches. They can come alongside you, come alongside your officiant, help you write the ceremony, help you write your vows. There's other amazing ceremony officiants who I've worked with who've offered coaching for like, okay, let's take a pause here. Okay, let's take a deep breath here. Okay, remember, we're going to hold that microphone like close to your mouth, but not too close. And okay, when it's time for the vows, we need to turn the mic to the groom and then to the bride or to the couple or whatever it is. And I think that having a professional coach someone who's brand new and it's their first time can just be really helpful and help that person feel even more grounded and ready to move forward. We recently did a wedding this past season where a friend of the groom's was marrying them, and he hadn't officiated before, and he was a very well-spoken, articulate person. He was totally going to do an amazing job. And the feedback he gave us after that ceremony was having that coach, they used Vows and Speeches, having that coach just absolutely gave him so much more confidence. He had been able to do Zoom calls with the coach and be like, hey, this is where I'm going to pause. This is what I'm going to do. And as a wedding planner, watching the ceremony from sort of the back of the whole space, And, I hear so many wedding ceremonies, so many different traditions. It's all so beautiful. But he just did such an amazingly good job and looked so confident and paused at the right places. It didn't feel rushed. It didn't feel, it felt so heartfelt and genuine, and also felt so professional and articulate. And I think that that's really special, because for all the guests listening, they were able to follow. Everything made sense. There were pauses at the right place and all the things. So if you are asking your friend to officiate and it's their first time, I really think that like offering maybe as a gift some sort of coaching session or something as an option for them can just be a really kind thing to do. At the end of the day, I think what's really important, and I've said this in past episodes, when we are getting married, we are honoring where we've come from, we're honoring where we are now, and we're celebrating where we're going. And so for so many couples, that looks so different. Sometimes it means getting married in the religious community that you grew up in and that you're still actively a part of. And there's, a beauty and a tradition there. There's beauty in tradition, and keep doing a more civil service and hiring an officiant so that everyone you love can just like be present and listen and be a part of it. There's also something so beautiful and personal asking someone you love to marry you. The last thing I will say is, in every state and country and jurisdiction, there's going to be different rules on marriage licenses and what the officiant needs to have or not have. So, especially if you're working in a religious group, you mostly like your priest or leader will kind of guide you through what needs to happen there. If you are working with a professional, let's hope that in that geographic region, they're really an expert on all the legal things. And if you're working with a friend, it's really important to learn what are the legal requirements. For example, in California, it is so flexible. The rules are very flexible. In some states or some countries, it's a lot more strict. We also have couples who, are getting married abroad who will say, you know what? We're going to go ahead and do a civil ceremony in the courthouse near our hometown and get legally married in the US. And then our celebration abroad is more of a celebration versus the actual legal marriage, because it can be kind of complicated to get a marriage license abroad. And I have some couples that are like, no, we want our marriage license to say this country, this thing. And then you have to go through the steps to do that there. The key is being prepared and being ready and understanding all the rules around the legal side of things, the marriage license and all of that. And then also, if there's a religious community involved, understanding all the traditions and religious things surrounding that, so that you as a couple can make the right choices, line up the things you need to, do, be getting married on the right date at the right time and all the things, so that there's no confusion or hurt or frustration later.
Live your life within the moment, and don't go wait until the morning. You never know when it is over. All that I know is we'll get older. So let us dance this night away.